Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this week for another Bet on Black pitch. My name is Tawana Rivers, and this is the 10K Project. We have an amazing founder this evening. Marvin is here with us from oneKIN. You're going to hear all about oneKIN in a moment. As you guys know, for those of you who are unable to join live, please feel free to review the campaign page that I'm getting ready to go over. There's a place for you to ask questions if you've missed this live session and you have questions for Marvin after you watch the replay. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen, go to the campaign page. As we can see, this campaign is on WeFunder. The minimum investment is $100. This is a future equity investment term. 76,000 of $100,000 goal has already been met. Congratulations, Marvin, for that. Very close to your first goal. We've got some investor perks that are showing here. For anyone who is joining us for the first time and not familiar with the WeFunder page, what I'm going to recommend is that you take a look at this entire campaign page. I say it all the time, so I'll say it again this evening. The founders spend a lot of time and energy making sure that they add just the right information that's going to fully inform you so that you don't have any additional questions, right? If you do have any additional questions, however, there's a wonderful section here called Ask a Question, and the founder will respond to any questions here. So you can see Marvin hasn't received any questions yet, but had he would have answered them here as well. So you'll be able to see questions and answers that other people have submitted. Look at the entire page. There's a lot of great information. You see the team. Both Marvin and Jennifer are here with us this evening. Jennifer is observing, but I'm sure if we ask her to pop in and answer a few questions, if something comes up, she will. Right? And I am going to stop sharing. We're going to put the link in the chat throughout the evening, so you guys have full access to that. If you need to go to this, that invest button is how you execute an investment. And then the way WeFunder does it is if it's your first investment, they'll ask you some know your customer information, you'll register, and then you'll be able to execute the investment. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn it over to you, Marvin, to tell us all about oneKIN.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very glad to be presenting to you all this evening. And in full transparency, we have not made the campaign public yet, so you all are getting in first. We're going to make it public probably sometime in the next week or two. We had some early demand from kind of friends and family, which is why you're already seeing some quick checks in there. We are contemplating potentially increasing the cap just to make it accessible to everybody. We're raising our first round, if you will, and we had initially been targeting the traditional investors and VCs. However, given our community focus, we've been very deliberate about keeping people, across our merchant and customer base ecosystem involved and engaged. So to that end, we've opened this kind of community round for people that are kind of both traditional and non-traditional investors to be able to kind of participate in our success. So again, it's not live yet, but you are getting access to it tonight. And we'll make it live in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll close it in the next 30 days or so. With that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just kind of give you all an overview of who we are, what we're building, and what we got in the works for everyone. So once again, by way of intro, and I just want to make sure everyone can see my screen okay. We're good, Tawana? Everyone can see the screen? Great, excellent. So by way of reintro, again, I'm Marvin Francois, CEO of oneKIN. We are a data-driven and mission-driven fintech and retail tech company, hyper-focused on providing small businesses with creative and cost-effective tech-enabled solutions to help them compete in the digital landscape. We've been very hard at work over the last 5 years, really investigating the pain points of small businesses, and through independent research, including our very own proof of concept, the oneKIN marketplace, which generated 6-figure revenue on a 42-cent CAC, we uncovered a $150 billion market opportunity. So to paint a clear picture, I want to introduce you to Brendan Vaughn, of BVC in St. Louis, centered in the heart of Cherokee Street. Their ambition was quite simply to elevate the local fashion scene with broad representations of culture and elegance. Then 2020 happened, and we don't need to be the dead horse at the headlines, but it is well reported that COVID has had a disproportionate effect on small businesses, especially those operating in disinvested communities. But if we're being entirely honest, the pandemic has only accelerated the inevitable decline of traditional retail, exacerbating pre-existing market friction. To be clear, small businesses are losing out on more than $1 billion in sales every single year simply because they struggle to reach their target audience. In Brandon's case, despite being able to provide this intimate and personal customer experience resulting in high conversions and intense customer loyalty, BVC ultimately suffered limited visibility and reach beyond their 2-mile foot traffic radius. In making the eventual pivot online, Brandon quickly found himself operating in this noisy and cluttered digital landscape. He struggled to differentiate himself, and he saw subpar conversions. Finally, for BVC, customer engagement has been super challenging, requiring time-consuming and often costly ways of garnering their attention and maintaining their loyalty. In the wake of COVID, many like Brandon have leveraged social media live stream as a way of bridging the pandemic divide. And while this tool is very effective for engagement, it rarely translates to orders. The harsh reality is Brandon's story is not unique. In fact, there are millions of merchants in a similar predicament. So to address the compounding friction in the market, we saw a compelling opportunity to merge the best of online and in-person shopping with our product, oneKIN Live. Imagine QVC, but entirely modernized to meet the needs and appetites of today's merchant and consumer. Our product virtually extends the shop's footprint to a nationwide audience, consolidates the customer's journey from discovery to conversion, and bridges the gap between sellers and their target audience, ultimately creating the potential to 10x conversion rates. Now with that, allow me to share our demo, and I just want to make sure you can hear it as well.
oneKIN.com.
So leveraging insights from our Chinese peers and the pop-up market model in the US, we designed oneKIN Live to drive higher conversion and intense engagement via time-sensitive, FOMO-inducing curated shopping events. During events, users have the opportunity to chat, browse, and shop, all while remaining connected to the stream. And in a future optimization, we will leverage AI to further personalize these experiences. While social media alternatives would seem to provide a similar benefit to small businesses, ultimately they do fall short. Many shop owners report to us that they spend countless hours engaging with their audience only to lose them during the checkout process when customers have to ruffle through the merchant's Amazon, Etsy, or Shopify account just to locate and purchase a suite of products. With oneKIN Live, we converge all elements of shopping and engagement to create a sick experience for customers that's sticky, interactive, and convenient. And again, we drive higher conversions for the merchants. In the past, we've grown our audience via grassroots efforts, including cold calling and knocking on doors. And while this has helped us grow our consumer base to over 60,000 and our merchant pipeline in excess of 7,000, in the future, we will leverage partnerships, including local governments, and real-life experiences, including pop-up markets, and our viral storytelling model, which is a documentary approach to highlighting local businesses and leverages local micro-influencers as evangelists. Needless to say, there is competition. But while our peers are focused on celebrity influence and shoppertainment, we're set apart by our hyper-focus on small business, creating real value for real people, our true live stream feature, encouraging organic and honest engagement, and our multicultural market expertise. It is important to note, however, that despite the competition, the market opportunity is huge. We benefit from being among the first movers in this space and are targeting as big a piece of this pie as possible. Given the size of the market, even with limited penetration and our optimistic scenario, we're projecting that we can achieve the $100 million revenue mark as early as 2025, supported by a wide range of revenue sources. Our founding team is dynamic and versatile, having significant expertise in growing and scaling businesses from Wall Street to retail. And we're further supported by an equally dynamic advisory and technical team with decades of experience in fintech and retail tech. We're raising a modest 1.5 mil to invest heavily in our technology and to accelerate our market penetration. Again, I'm Marvin Francois, CEO of oneKIN. Join us as we power the future of retail for small businesses. That's all I got, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marvin. Very, very good. So guys, please put your questions in the Q&A. I'm going to start us off because I've got a few questions.
Okay.
I want to go back to the financial model for a moment. So tell us how does oneKIN make money? So are there fees for the presenters, the businesses that have the products? Are there fees for someone who is just a consumer? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's going to be pretty multifaceted. The primary revenue source is going to be, we're going to take a commission or take rate on gross merchandising value. So to your point, Tawana, whatever you generate as a merchant on the platform, we're going to take a small commission of that. It's something I want to note about that is, we are very small business friendly. And we're very deliberate about centering small businesses in everything we do. And we want to make sure that we're providing them a solution that converts for them, but that's also going to protect their margins. So our current take rate is actually a function of feedback from merchants. We had done a beta of this about a year ago, and we charged one fee, and we got feedback from merchants saying, you need to double your fee because for all the value that you're providing, we want to make sure that you're still around, 5-10 years from now. So by trade, I'm a banker. I was on Wall Street for a decade. So the initial fee was by all means designed to make sure that we can operate sustainably. But the fact that the merchants pushed us to double our fees, I think evidences that even doubling the fee, they could still have pretty hefty margins and convert pretty aggressively. So the primary revenue source is the take rate or the commission on gross merchandising value or the revenue that the merchants generate. And then we're also building out an analytics dashboard to help merchants better understand their target customer. So to that end, they'll be able to pay a subscription fee, a monthly fee, to get access to those analytics, and then it'll be a tiered approach. So those are the two main drivers of revenue. Other ancillary revenues are enterprise fees and ads. But again, I would say maybe 75-80% will be a combination of take rate and the subscription fee.
Very good. So who's the target market for this? I was surprised to see when you said there's already competition. I've not heard about this technology that allows me to shop like that.
I'm glad you said that. And in full transparency, the word competition is used quite loosely. The reality is we are the only ones in this ecosystem building solutions for small businesses. There are many investors that pit us against the social media giants, which is not a space in which we operate. And then there are other investors that pit us against some of the other live stream apps that are really designed for entertainment and not really for a small business selling. So it's really, if we're talking about pure plays, direct competition, we're competing with Chinese companies that don't have a footprint here. But if we're talking about kind of the broad universe of competition, then that's kind of what I'm speaking to.
Okay. Very, very good. Who's the target audience?
Yeah, great question. So at the onset, we're targeting kind of small businesses that are traditionally defined by SBA. So you've been in business for X number of years, you're generating less than 7.5 million in revenue. If we revert back to the pie chart that speaks to the market opportunity, in the beginning, consistent with the design of oneKIN, we are hyper-focused on small businesses that are operating in traditionally disinvested communities because I mean, for a lot of reasons. From my banking days, I know that when you focus on underpenetrated markets, that you're actually creating solutions for the masses, and you're going to glean the most learnings and be able to kind of fine tune that product. So ultimately, we want to kind of take the entire small business ecosystem by storm, but we want to focus on those ones that have acute pain points, because we can build solutions that address those and kind of the issues that the entire ecosystem will encounter systematically over time when we start to kind of work our way across the small business ecosystem beyond those that are operating in disinvested communities.
Very good. I'm going to ask this question early. Typically, someone will ask it a little later in the presentation, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it now. What's the exit plan?
That's actually a great question. I want to be cautious to not oversell this. If you ask me, and I don't want to speak for Jennifer, this work is tough, but we love it. We have a whole 100-year vision tied to creating a suite of solutions that systematically address each pain point that small businesses are encountering, with the goal of helping them achieve scale and operate aggressively. I say that because underlying the fact that we are a data and tech company, we are heavily a mission-driven company. And our underlying thesis is communities flourish when small businesses flourish. So if we can create precise solutions that are targeting pain points that small businesses are encountering, that will then transition them from the local mom and pop to a local job creating engine, then we want to be doing this forever. We can, again, over time, help small businesses create jobs in the community and effectively address socioeconomic issues that they might encounter. So the exit plan for me is I kind of want to do this forever, but strategically we have aligned ourselves with a couple financial institutions that have seen the value of this product and may want to evaluate us strategically in the next 5 years or so. So again, I don't want to get ahead of myself on that, but we are having warm conversations with prospective acquirers. If not, we want to IPO in about 4 or 5 years.
Very good, very good. And then I'll ask my final question and let the community chime in. But talk a little bit more about the technology itself. Like, is there AI built in? Is it tracking my shopping habits? Is it going to recommend things from different shops based on my shopping habits? How integrated is this going to be? And how is it going to make it easy for me to spend my money?
Yeah, wow. Those are all really good questions. I want to be cautious here as well, because I know that there's a lot of concerns about, acquisition of first-party data. There's a lot of concerns about data privacy and protection. It's kind of a double-edged sword in that the more data we have, the better we can provide, kind of a tailor-made shopping experience for customers. The other side of that is people want to be able to have more control over their data. And so we are balancing between leveraging data to grow this aggressively and provide tailor-made shopping experiences for people, and then also kind of adhering to people's concerns about how their data is being used. So part of our strategy is looking to kind of partner with companies that are ethically sourcing first-party data in order to kind of feed the algorithm. Having said that, and you'll see this on our WeFunder page, we are a MasterCard Start Path fintech company. MasterCard, little known fact maybe, MasterCard is a data giant. MasterCard sees $25 billion in transactions every single day.
Wow.
I don't think anybody does data like MasterCard does. The benefit of that is we can do, even before we talk about AI, so AI is part of the strategy, but just for context, you don't just do AI from the beginning. There's kind of this element of machine learning that has to happen, but there's also this element of kind of teaching the machine what it needs to do. So it's a process of collecting clean data and then feeding the algorithm over time. So the goal is to leverage AI to tailor-make kind of shopping experiences or shopping journeys for each consumer. But as a starting point, we're going to be doing some aggressive propensity modeling with MasterCard, whereby effectively what happens is, because we know what you purchased yesterday, Tawana, I can probably, with a high degree of confidence, tell you what your next 3 purchases are. And again, I know there's a level of convenience attached to that, and it's also a little creepy, but the goal is to try to use data as responsibly as possible to provide for the consumers a tailor-made experience. On the merchant side, that's really important to us as well, because as I mentioned, our merchant pipeline is massive. You know, organically through our own network, we have 7,000. With our MasterCard relationship, that potentially gives us access to another 50 million merchants across the globe. And so the last thing we want to do is recreate the issue of a cluttered digital landscape. And so AI is going to help us be able to kind of tailor shopping journeys for each merchant or for each customer. And then the benefit for the merchant is that they won't necessarily be kind of competing as aggressively with people in their same vertical. We're going to be very deliberate about bringing hyper-targeted audiences to merchants to help them increase their conversions.
Very good. Okay, I've got a few more questions, but I'm gonna ask the community questions first, and then I'll jump back in. Jesse says, can the app be used to connect on international basis?
Yes, that's part of the long-term strategy. In theory, you can access the app internationally now. We're going to start to think strategically about how we want to unveil that. Again, one of the biggest things that we're cautious about is making sure that we are setting merchants up for success. And so how we release the app to the globe kind of in a competitive landscape, we want to make sure that we're not cannibalizing merchants. So the long and short of it is, from a technical perspective, international reach is something that we can achieve tomorrow. We just have to be smart about how we unveil that in a way that's going to promote success across the board.
Good, very, very good. How are you going to attract merchants? You know, what's the marketing strategy?
Yeah, great question. That has not been an issue for us to date. As I mentioned early, kind of in our presentation, in many ways, we were a think tank and research house, just kind of, you know, pulling together analytics and reporting for local governments to inform policy decisions about how to better support and invest in small business. And then that work eventually gave work to our putting the marketplace and kind of in the ecosystem, not for the sake of competing with Amazon and not really for the sake of being a marketplace, but because we knew it was going to be low barrier to entry and that it was going to provide us real-time first-party insights and data that would inform the solutions that we had to build. So the marketplace and the early research has really given birth to the pipeline of products that we're going to be unveiling over the next 18 months, including kind of an advanced version of oneKIN Live. So through all of that work, we've actually built a merchant pipeline already through our MasterCard partnership. That's going to be another kind of a pipeline of millions of merchants. One of the other ways that we've kind of attracted merchants is through some pretty interesting technical optimizations. So we did a secret launch about a year ago, really just kind of a minimum MVP, and I do mean a minimum viable product. It was, we patched together a stream and chat and shopping, and we had kind of some analytics trackers just to kind of make sense of this thing. And the app crashed, which was amazing, because what it evidenced to us was that there was more demand for this than we anticipated, and that we had to aggressively build the real thing to take advantage of this opportunity. Through that experience, some of the early feedback we got from merchants was, hey, look, this looks amazing, but I don't want another order management system. I don't, I'm already on Amazon, I'm already on Shopify, I don't want another system that's disconnected from my inventory management that I now have to manage manually. Is there any way that you can integrate it with something that exists already? So to that end, we started to kind of evaluate the ecosystem. We saw that Shopify had 2.2 million merchants. So we said, let's start with Shopify, and then kind of work our way across the other kind of OMSs. So one of the biggest optimizations that we've made is we've integrated Shopify. So if you are one of the 2.2 million merchants on Shopify, with the click of a button, you are on our app oneKIN Live. When you get an order on our app, it goes directly to your Shopify store. So there's not any having to manage inventory across multiple places. If you have 20 units left on your store and you sell 19 on our app, you have 1 unit left on your store. So that's been kind of not only an important optimization, but also an amazing recruitment tool for us. So now we have access to Shopify's 2.2 million merchants.
Very good. So that actually led it to my next question was, how many merchants are live and how many customers do you have live? but you just answered that first part of that question with the merchants. I mean, you have access to quite a few merchants.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we have to be super systematic. Again, we can flip a switch and have millions on there, but it's just going to recreate the noise of e-commerce. We're trying to be systematic about creating kind of combining our development on the AI front with kind of our strategic release of more merchants, just to make sure customers aren't drowning in a sea of options, and also to ensure that merchants aren't really having to compete in the same ways that they have to on e-commerce. So on the consumer side, we have a consumer base of over 60,000 across our socials and emails list, and we are slowly unveiling the app to them over time. So if we close our round tomorrow, then we can accelerate market penetration. But we're just trying to be smart about systematically releasing the product. We're also, I mean, we have the best engineers in the world. Part of what we're doing here is, as we start to kind of slowly release the product to the market for both the merchant and the consumer, we're also seeing how they behave and how they operate on the app. And we start to kind of make optimizations in real time. So many of our merchants are excited to see that optimizations that we had would happen in Q2 happened 2 weeks ago. And that's because we have a highly agile team that can be responsive to their needs and build solutions that's going to help them increase their conversions.
Can the app track, or not track, does it categorize by shop type, like Black-owned businesses?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So we have, from a tracking perspective, we have that information. The question is how soon we want to release those kind of categorical classifications. And so the goal really here is to have the app operate in the market organically and let the users dictate to us what to prioritize next. In full transparency, we made the mistake in the past of over-optimizing and overbuilding too soon. And then we put a product in the market where people were like, great, this is very confusing. I only need 20% of what you've built. Yeah. And so this time around, we've been very deliberate about building the 20% that's technically sound, and then letting actual users decide what the other 80% looks like.
Very good. I love that approach, because I get overwhelmed with things, right? Tech can be overwhelming. And it's like, okay, this I know this is a great feature, but I don't need it to do that, right? But I love that you've got these things already built so that when the customers start to ask for them, you're going to be able to release them in almost real time. It's going to make you look amazing in their eyes, right?
No, you're spot on. We literally have a long pipeline of optimizations, and we just wait for people to ask for it before we release it. And it's been helpful because as part of our onboarding takes like a couple minutes, and merchants are oftentimes like perplexed by the simplicity. Like, for example, when we were doing our holiday launch, we were talking to merchants and they were like, okay, look, give me a day to like get familiar with this new platform. And 5 minutes later, they're like, oh, I think I'm done. And that's because we've made it super simple. You don't need a day to get familiar, you need 5 minutes, and you know everything that you need to know about the app. So the design is aesthetically pleasing, but it's incredibly user-friendly. It's easy to master. We're not throwing a lot of bells and whistles on this. We want this to convert for you. So to that end, it's a very simple and clean design.
Very good. Jesse wants to know who does the currency conversion. Is that vendor or app? And I guess I'd like to add a part to that question as well. What types of currencies do you accept? Is it cryptocurrency enabled? Does it accept foreign currencies and all of that?
Yeah, right now we're only accepting USD. But as we start to expand nationally for both the consumer side and the merchant side, then we will accommodate other currencies. One of the benefits of leveraging the Shopify API is we don't have to build much from scratch. So we're using a tool that 2.2 million merchants are already accustomed to. So whatever Shopify's currency conversion is, we're going to just replicate that. Our biggest goal is to provide features for you that are familiar and that we can kind of unveil very, very quickly. So whatever we need to build from scratch, we're going to, but whatever we can kind of achieve or acquire off the shelf, we're going to do that as well. Crypto is something that's been in conversation. This is probably part of the 2080 rule where we're not trying to over optimize and overbuild too quickly. We want to evaluate kind of customer and merchant interest before we start to unveil new features.
Very good. Jesse says, is there a separate channel for business to business?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Technically speaking, yes. Is it available? No, in part because we want to see if this is a Jesse question or if there are a million Jessies who want this. So we have the technical capabilities to achieve that. We just want to make sure there's enough merchant and consumer demand to actually see that feature introduced into the app.
Very good. Sarah says, does this shopping experience only exist in the app, or can SMBs integrate into their own sites?
That's a wonderful question.
Tell us what SMB stands for.
Small businesses.
Okay.
Or small, medium-sized businesses.
Okay.
So the question really is, if you have your own Shopify account, can you just have a plugin that lets you stream leveraging oneKIN's technology on your platform? So from the very beginning, even before we started doing this work, one of the benefits of having a massive pipeline of merchants is oneKIN Live was built for and by merchants. My business partner and I were very deliberate about not over anticipating what people wanted in a silo. Every single feature that we've introduced has been heavily consulted with small businesses. And so one of our early conversations was exactly that question. Are we building this white label solution that you can embed on your own platform, or does it need to be something that operates independently? So we did a combination of evaluating kind of the small business ecosystem, but then we also leverage a lot of our own data and insights. And the overwhelming conclusion was that ultimately this needs to replicate the physical pop-up market experience. And so that's effectively what oneKIN Live does, whereby if you can kind of think about the shopping journey as when you go to a physical pop-up market, you walk through the doors and you see 30, 40, 50 merchants. It's a great experience, great vibes. You kind of do your first tour around the space to kind of see, okay, I like this, I like that, I'm gonna come back here. And so of the 50, you identify the 10 that you actually want to talk to. And then you come back around again, you talk to the 10, and you buy like 12 products. That's effectively what we designed here with oneKIN Live, kind of taking that physical pop-up market experience and digitizing it. We did that because part of what works well for small businesses is cross-pollination. It's in many ways, it's the mall effect. I came here for one brand, but now I see a brand that complements this. And so like now suddenly my cart size increases. I came here to spend, as someone who is a pop-up market shopper, there are many days where I came with the $50 budget and end up spending $500. And that's because the one merchant that I came to patronize put me on to a different merchant that has a complementary product that then put me on to a different merchant. And then before I knew it, I've met all these merchants that I'm patronizing. And the benefit obviously for me is that now I have this one-stop shop experience, but the added benefit for the merchant is that you get that cross-pollination. You're benefiting from the audiences of other merchants. So to that end, the current iteration is designed to operate independent of your own store because we want you to benefit from having access to thousands and tens of thousands of customers that are there to meet other merchants.
Good, very, very good. Wayne says, I might have missed this, but can you explain highlight number 5 where it says 42C CAC?
Yeah, that's a great question. So CAC, that's customer acquisition cost. And where we sit kind of in the e-commerce kind of industry is pretty unique. But investors tend to kind of pigeonhole us. We think our placement is a bit more nuanced, but investors, for the sake of simplicity, kind of see us as retail tech slash kind of e-commerce enablement. So to that end, a pretty competitive e-commerce customer acquisition cost is $45. Ours is 42 cents. That's less than 1% of industry average. So what that means is with a very limited marketing budget, we can still convert the customer.
Wow, that's a
Yeah.
huge, like you should have said that more enthusiastically. That's
Yeah.
huge. Wait a minute.
There's no competition. We're doing better than Amazon in that regard, to be honest.
Wow.
There's no competition.
Okay, that was a
Yeah.
mic
So
drop right there.
as an investor, just know that your capital is being deployed efficiently.
Very, very good. So we've got another question. Jesse says, does live mean me away? No. Does live take me away of other duties of my business? And can I substitute pre-recorder avatar response to interact with customer?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And it's something that we are evaluating just based on merchant feedback over the last couple of weeks. So the design here has been really to kind of see this as an extension of what you're doing already. oneKIN Live is not really intended to be an additional thing or on your to-do list. We talk to merchants that are already doing lives on Instagram. So we're saying on one phone, you're streaming on Instagram. How about on the other phone, you stream from oneKIN? We talk to merchants that are in their physical stores talking to one customer. And the reality is that one customer profile is probably representative of 10,000 customers. And so we're saying, as you're answering questions for one customer, just have the phone up and talk to the 10,000 customer community that might have that same interest. So it's not really intended to take you away from what you're already doing. It's meant to amplify and provide a more conversion-oriented platform to what you're already doing. So the design around live stream is really just a function of what we have observed to be highly converting. And that once you introduce this time sensitivity, there's suddenly this urgency to shop and act on the customer side. Having said that, we have received early feedback from merchants saying, great, love the FOMO thing, but sometimes customers can't meet me at a certain hour. Can we do some replays? That was something that we thought we might introduce in Q2. If you look on the app, we released replays last. So again, this just speaks to our ability to be very nimble and responsive to what you need. We don't want to impose our own insights on what the market is actually telling us. So you can do replays whereby you're not having to spend too much time on the app. You can do kind of your first stream and then literally have that replay work for you indefinitely.
Very, very good. And tell us what the funds are going to be used for once you meet your capital raise goals.
Yeah, great question. We're only raising 1.5 million, so very conservative, and that's in large part. Again, we are very efficient with capital. We heavily subscribe to the lean startup model, and the primary goal is we need to at least double the size of our tech team. Our ability to respond to the demands of interest of merchants and consumer is how quickly we can build what you're asking for. And we have a strong team now. We just need to double in size so that we can produce stuff more quickly. Having said that, as I mentioned before, even how small our team is, we're still very responsive and pushing stuff out there. Just imagine how much quicker we could be at delivering new features. So priority number one, I would say that's going to take up maybe 45% of that ask. The next big ticket item is really around market penetration. So my business partner, Jennifer Gomez, she's a marketing guru with 15 years corporate marketing experience. There's nothing she can't do, except she still needs a marketing budget. There's only so much creativity that you can kind of pour into this without having a dedicated marketing budget. So that would be the secondary goal there, just to kind of get this in more hands, get it more visible across the ecosystem.
Very good. And why equity crowdfunding? And more importantly, why the 10K project? Yeah,
all really great questions. This is something that we wrestled with for a long time, in part because, in full transparency, there were some VCs who made it clear to us that if you go the equity crowdfunding route, then there's no reason to continue conversation. And so we had to decide internally from a values perspective what we cared about. And you know, it's one thing to say that you are a community-oriented platform. It's another thing to like actually live that out, you know, kind of in practice. And so for us, we thought about all of our customers, we thought about all of our merchants, who are all very hardworking, who in theory, like should be able to participate in a venture backable, highly scalable opportunity, but due to antiquated rules around what it means to be an investor or the criteria you have to meet, they are, you know, systematically excluded from opportunities. I just think about the number of accredited investors that got into Tesla and Facebook early, writing checks as small as $10,000,
Right.
and how that's returned crazy amounts for them. And I know the everyday person who is, you know, very responsible with the resources, they have $5,000 to invest. Why are they excluded from a venture backable, like high growth opportunity? And so for us, we wanted to create through equity crowdfunding an opportunity for people who didn't meet the traditional accredited investors rule or criteria to be able to participate in our success, because our success to date has been a function of their support of our business. And so this is just kind of our opportunity to give back to them saying, look, we're onto something. We know this is going to blow up. We want you to be a part of that success, not only just as a customer, but also as an investor. And the 10K project was actually a really great friend of mine talked about the overwhelming success he had with 10K in a matter of days. And so immediately I said, I need this introduction and we need to kind of launch our crowdfunding campaign through this. I love what the ecosystem stands for. I think our mandate around getting involved, this is precisely the community that we're talking about.
Very good. Well, we appreciate that. You know, to the community, I want to make sure you just heard what Marvin said, right? So he stopped conversation with VCs who have the money, what they could have written one check, right? Yeah. But because he wanted the community to benefit from this, right? Mm-hmm. He took a different route and made a decision. And when founders make sacrifices like that, it is our responsibility as the community he's trying to support to respond accordingly, right? And you've got to do your due diligence. You know, I'm not a financial advisor. You've got to do your due diligence. That's we're very firm on being healthy, responsible investors here at the 10K Project. But when founders make sacrifices like that, we have to respond, because it is only their sacrifice that's going to allow the rules to change eventually one day, right? You know, as more founders say, no, we're gonna keep doing it this way, VCs will start to lobby for different accreditation rules because it's affecting the business that's being presented to them. And so I want you to pay attention to everything we hear always, because it matters. We're here for a reason. We're here because founders like Marvin are making sacrifices to be able to allow our families to experience some of the generational wealth that other demographics get to experience just by having access, not because they're smarter, not because they're better, just because they have access. So very, very good. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Jesse said, could I theoretically hold live real-time auction on the platform? This is Jesse's lane. I got the feeling Jesse's got a few e-commerce stores.
Yeah, no, these are great questions. And actually, Jesse, that is actually, that's a feature that we are heavily contemplating, in part because we have a pipeline of artists. One of the things that we've been playing with is doing live artwork on the platform and having people bid on those pieces. So in terms of that large pipeline of features, some auction capabilities is one of those features. So again, it's a matter of if Jesse is an outlier or if Jesse is representing 1,000 people who have similar interests, that will determine how quickly we commit to unveiling that feature. But yes, it is in the pipeline.
Very good. Jesse said, OMG, he spied on my dream. Oh, I love it. Very, very good. Any other questions, guys? These are great questions. It was such a very straightforward and concise presentation. And I think people understand marketplaces, right? So just to be able to hear how you're different is really beneficial. But I mean, wonderful, wonderful information.
Thank you.
Christopher says, could this platform also have a use case for network marketers selling various products?
That's a great question. The short answer is yes. From a technical perspective, those features already exist. We just need to see how that would play out, kind of practically speaking. But yes, the short answer.
Very good. It's interesting. That question is interesting because I could see that congesting the system, but I can see it being a separate app, like the same technology, white labeled, called something different that supports that area.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Part of what we're balancing in the feature release is that, like, how do we release features that accommodate multiple use cases without congesting the platform? And the reality is, from a technical perspective, as we start to like really fine tune our AI, 10 different people can download the app and have 10 different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's within the realm of possibility. It's just a matter of, to your point, do we want to kind of expand the use case to accommodate that in one space, or does that suggest kind of a spin-off app?
Very good. Wayne said he just invested.
Oh, great. Thank you, Wayne. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Very good.
That really means a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions, guys, before we give our final comments? Well, while they're contemplating, I'll give mine and then I'll let you close this out. We do this because we understand the assignment, right? We are deliberately trying to build our portfolios with amazing Black founders. And so we understand the task at hand, right? That's why the 10K project exists. That's why our community of investors have joined us in this mission, because we know that Black founders are doing amazing things, and you guys are scrounging for dollars to continue to be successful. And we're so sick and tired for you of you coming up with amazing ideas only to have someone come after you 2 years later, but they get the $20 million, right? And so then everybody knows their name as the household name when they were not the original players in the game. That is what we're trying to stop here. We want Black founders who were first, right, in their industries and more innovative than people before them to be able to get the funding and become the household name. And so, for everyone here, strongly consider investing, right? That's your right here. Do your due diligence. I always say that. But more importantly, even than that, is share this campaign, right? Marvin needs eyes on this campaign as much as he needs the invest button to be clicked, right? And so please share this campaign with your family, your friends. Go ahead and put it on all of your social platforms. That's one of the reasons we keep putting it in the chat. We're hoping that you just cut it, copy it, paste it, and go ahead and just drop it in your Facebook, drop it in your LinkedIn, drop it in your Twitter feed. All of the things, just drop it in there, right? You don't even need a whole lot of explanation. Guess what? When you drop it, somebody's gonna click it, right? And they're gonna click it, they're gonna read through it, and hopefully they too hit the invest button or ask additional questions when they're on the platform. But that's what Marvin needs from us, as much as he needs us to click the invest button, is to share the campaign. And so that is what my ask is of you this evening, is to consider investing for yourself, right? Determine if this fits in your portfolio, but please share this campaign. Share it even if you didn't like it, just share it, right? Because you may not like to shop, but like people like me love to. So I'm hoping that someone shares things like this with me so that I can benefit from it. And I'm sure there are many of you that have friends like me who would love for you to share it so that they can click it and see what's going on. So please share the heck out of this campaign page. Patrice says, as a non-online, see, Patrice, see, I just said it, right? Not everybody's like me. Patrice says, as a non-online shopper, can you walk me through the experience from getting on the app to purchasing? Wonderful question, Patrice.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there might be a wall that you have to kind of leap over, which is like getting accustomed to online shopping. But just to kind of reinforce a point that I made earlier, we made this to be super user friendly. So like this, you can spend 5 minutes on the app and you know everything that you need to know about it. So there's not much of a hurdle that you have to leap to kind of get accustomed to the app. So you download the app, and any given day, any given moment, you're going to see a list of either current streams or future streams. And then at that designated time, you can literally join. And there's going to be another person on the other side of it engaging with you in real time. So they're going to be doing their product demonstration. We've had merchants like literally do like in real time, like hair treatments, like on the app, and so that people see results immediately. So they know it's not a gimmick. And I love that it's so much about the merchants that we have on our platform. These are people creating real products for real people with real impact. And so you're engaging with them, you're asking them questions, they're responding, in real time, to your chat. And then with a click of a button, you can buy the product. So that part is critical. It's not like this is an engagement platform, and then they're like, now leave the app and go to my Amazon or my Shopify or wherever to buy this product, because we know that's going to create for you kind of a dissonance in this experience. It's going to disconnect you from why you even decided to participate. But the whole goal here is we've kind of consolidated the customer journey whereby you can engage and discover and then also commit to a purchase. So what that typical conversion cycle might have looked like anywhere from 4 days to 4 weeks can happen in 15 minutes, because everything that you need to know is happening right here in front of you. You click a button and you've made a purchase.
Very good. So Patrice, I hope that answered your question. A question popped in my head when you were talking. Does the merchant need any special equipment? I think about like the videos in your demo, they were so clean and clear, and like I wanted to buy the demo stuff, right? But does the merchant need special equipment or technology to be able to pull off something of that quality?
That's such a good question. You need a good Wi-Fi and you need good lighting.
Okay.
That's if you want a big production, if you want a ring light, if you want a backdrop, you can certainly do that. And we have merchants who do that. And full transparency, the merchant who has the big production is as successful as the merchant who has a decent light and great Wi-Fi. Okay. So long and short is you don't need a big production to be successful on the platform.
Good. Patrice had a follow-up question. She said, so if I'm looking for something specifically, can I search for it? Or do I only get what's being presented when I get on the app?
That's a wonderful question. When you search for things, you're actually helping us because we can track what your searches are. And what that does for us is it informs what we need to be prioritizing in terms of product categories. So in the very beginning, the current iteration of the app is really designed to provide for you kind of a curated experience. We want to kind of reinforce the intimacy of in-person shopping digitally. So to that end, we are very deliberate about creating for you experiences, but over time, we will kind of expand the use case whereby it'll be more searchable. But again, even now, if you start to go on the app and search for things, what you see is what you're going to get. But at the very least, that's going to be data for us to track so that we know, Patrice is looking for fine jewelry from merchants in the DMV. So we need to make sure that we have a category of merchants that fit that profile. We need to be deliberate about prioritizing those merchants in our next release.
I think the thing to remember is in your presentation, you compared it to QVC. Yeah. Right. So for those of us who've ever watched QVC, you kind of get what you get, right?
You get what you get.
You get what you get, right? And then if you didn't like it, you turned over to Home Shoppers Network, and then you just flip back and forth throughout the day. But you get what you get. Okay.
You get what you get. Yeah. And just be patient with us, because again, over time, especially as we start to introduce machine learning and AI, this will be able to anticipate your interests and needs. But this is also a product of your engagement. So the more you engage with it, the more we know how we need to fine tune the experience for you.
Very good. Any additional questions, guys, before we let Marvin give his final comments? Okay, Marvin, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you again, Tawana. Thank you again, TK Project. This has been just rewarding. As I mentioned before, like this was built for us. This was built by us. And I'm grateful to have an opportunity to talk with you about what we're doing in the ecosystem. One thing that I do want to just kind of reinforce is, despite, oneKIN being, very data driven, despite oneKIN being this technology company, from the very beginning, if I think about kind of what inspired all of this, it was really around economic empowerment. And from our research, what we kind of surmised was, if you really want to catalyze socioeconomic change, you have to focus on the small business. And so from the very, at the onset, our goal has been, how do we help small businesses kind of contribute to socioeconomic empowerment for their communities? And I emphasize that because I think oftentimes when we identify social ills in our communities, we feel maybe disconnected from the solution. But what if the solution is you're patronizing a small business such that they can become kind of the economic catalyst that creates opportunities in your space? So that's really the design of oneKIN, kind of leveraging technology to effectively achieve socioeconomic ends for communities, especially those that are historically disinvested. So again, thank you for this opportunity. We have a long pipeline of really dope products that we're going to be doing over the next 18 months. So stay tuned.
Very good. This has been a wonderful presentation. I love your thoughtfulness to even how you're going to release all of the features that you have. Like, I can see that you have the consumer in mind through the entire process, both the person buying as well as the merchant, and your attention and consciousness around the sensitivity around data. I appreciate that as well. There are a lot of people exploiting our data, and I feel like you're handling our data as if it's yours, like really handling it with care. That came through for me this evening. So thank you for that. That's very much appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. You guys know what to do next, right? And Marvin, you are part of the family. Jennifer, it was nice to have you here. You guys are part of the 10K family. We're going to stay connected. Awesome. As this grows and blows up and you start needing more team members, there are IT people here in the community that may be looking for their next gig. And so
love that.
This is truly about us creating an ecosystem and helping you succeed all the way to the end. We'll all be downloading, right? So that we can start being consumers and doing all of the things. So thank you very, very much. We appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you again. I appreciate you all.
Have a wonderful evening. Good night, everyone.